right, welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundy, how you doing?
Doing quite well today. Got the day off work and just relaxing, so I'm enjoying it right now. How are you doing?
Pretty good. It is a beautiful day out here. You know, we got it's a bit of a slow hockey news day, but there's some stuff.
Yeah, as you say that,
I got that look on your face.
just hold on, okay. So, literally, I just got a notification for this right now. So, the Nashville Predators have traded Ryan Johansson at 50% retained, so he's got 2 more years.
At 50%?
50% retained to the Colorado Avalanche.
Oh, God.
For the UFA rights for Alex Galchenyuk.
That's it?
That's the trade.
Am I missing something?
I think more than anything, looking at it, it's just a cap dump for Nashville. Like that, they're clearly kind of going towards a retool phase, and so Ryan Johansson, not the same player he has been.
No, but he's still good, right? Like,
yeah,
at the very least serviceable. Like you can have money. Surely they could have traded him to another team for a second round pick at least, right?
Most likely, yeah.
50% retained too. That's
well. I think for them to trade him to begin with, it was going to have to be at 50% retained.
Yeah,
because I don't think any team would want to pay him more than $4 million. Based on his play lately, so
yeah, and
it's a good pickup for Colorado though.
Oh,
that's a huge.
That's freaking stellar for them. They didn't give up anything. I mean,
yeah,
Galchenyuk, but
he was in the AHL. They weren't even going to re-sign him.
Half the teams in the league have given up Galchenyuk at some point.
Yeah. So
that's trade by the Avs.
Yeah, that's a start there.
Yeah, wow. You could definitely get something for him, Like, I get it's a cap dump, but you could also recoup some sort of asset for him.
Yeah, I gotta feel like in some way they could have gotten more. Maybe they almost were just kind of panicking and took like kind of the first offer maybe that there was. I mean, I think this is going to work out really good for Colorado, though. Adding Ryan Johansson in with the group that they got, if he can come back to even close to what he was a couple years ago, that just makes the Avalanche that much more dangerous.
That's wild. How recent is that? Like, that must have just broke. Like,
literally, we were just talking and it popped. Like, it's still 2 minutes ago on.
Yeah. Wow.
On here.
All right, so you know what? Maybe it's just early in the day's picking up then.
Yeah, maybe that's the first of many moves to drop today. We'll wait and see on that.
Yeah. So on today's show, we're going to be talking mainly about the draft, but we can bring up a couple other things that have happened around the league briefly here. The New Jersey Devils signed Eric Holla to a 3-year, $3.15 million per year extension.
Good for him, honestly. He's kind of one of those guys, like, I remember when he was with Vegas, their first year, I thought he was a great fit on the team, and then they kind of, I thought he looked really good, and then they kind of just shipped him off out of there. He was done pretty quick there, and then he kind of just bounced around from team to team for a bit, so it's nice to see him, and he really liked it in New Jersey.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it, after getting traded there from Boston, and so... I mean, good for him that he's found a home and he's not going to continue to kind of bounce from team to team like he has been.
Yeah, that seems like a pretty good deal for the team end.
Well, and I think he's a great locker room guy from what everyone says, and he just put up like 40 points last season or something.
Yeah,
so
just barely over $3 million. That's pretty solid.
That's a really good deal there for the Devils, and especially a team that's going to have to utilize every ounce of cap space they have going into the future with a lot of contracts they still have to give out.
Yeah. All right. The Calgary Flames have hired Mark Savard and Dan Lambert, both as assistant coaches. Mark Savard is a really interesting name.
Mark Savard's a big one. Who's the other guy again?
Dan Lambert.
So I don't. I was reading. I was just kind of reading on it because like I was just seeing a news about it, and it sounds like Lambert. A lot of people, or not necessarily Flames fans, but outside, like just hockey fans in general, aren't a huge fan of him. I guess he kind of runs. From what I remember, I think he kind of ran the power play and whatnot for Nashville. I think, or something like that. And it sounds like people weren't very happy with him, but
I mean, Nashville's never exactly been known for a stellar power play, so that makes sense.
well, Shea Weber days maybe, but especially not last
year. Has
year.
more to do with Weber than power play coach, if I had to guess.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know what? Flames bringing in all fresh blood, seeing how it goes.
Yeah.
So, you know, you gotta try and move in a different direction, especially with all the people coming out recently of.
Oh, definitely. For sure.
Yeah, all the players coming out saying that they didn't want to re-sign. That's brutal for the Flames.
Yeah, it's not ideal, and it's a process maybe we'll dive into a little bit more kind of after the draft, because I think, you know, or even we could maybe touch on it a little bit here, because maybe some moves could be happening at the draft here, but I'm not fully sure yet on the specifics of it. It just kind of sounds like certain players aren't wanting to extend, yeah. And you know, so that opens up a lot of uncertainty for them going into the next couple weeks here.
Yeah, it's good that at least they'll know if it's true that they're knowing with all these players this early that they don't want extensions, because then they have a whole year to figure out what to do with them and where to trade them and make stuff happen. You know, it's better than figuring out in March that all these guys don't want to come back.
Exactly, and now you're in a spot where, and it's one of the first things Connery talked about when he joined the Flames, or I guess became the GM. You talked about the Johnny Gaudreau situation and how they had him, and then he said he would have handled it differently and wouldn't have just lost Gaudreau for nothing in the end like they did. And so now when you're sitting with guys like Toffoli, Backlund, and then Lindholm and Hanifin, he said he's not going to make that same mistake. So are we really going to see like just a complete blow up of the Flames kind of core and just see all four of those guys get moved? And then, you know, if you're moving those guys to teams, other teams aren't going to be giving you back really kind of impact players, because they're going to want to be adding to their core there and improving their team, not necessarily like it's going to be giving up kind of picks and prospects. And so it's almost like if the Flames can't find a way to, you know, convince these guys to stick around and re-sign, they're going to have to kind of go towards not necessarily a rebuild, but like kind of a retool of maybe like 2 years or so.
Yeah, for sure. It's a weird situation. Interesting what he meant by saying that he would have handled the Gaudreau situation differently, because I know it's, you know, hindsight's 2020. It's easy to criticize the Gaudreau situation, but he put up all three of the guys on that line that year put up 40 goals. He had like almost 115 points or something that year.
Yeah.
Like the Flames looked like they were poised to go really deep in the playoffs. Like, even if you know you're losing them for nothing, it would have been kind of stupid to trade them at the deadline. And like, obviously you get assets back, but you know, what if you do bad in the playoffs that year and then you're looking back going, we might have won the cup if we kept Johnny around. You don't know.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, right? And then you even think, you know, it's tough because I guess it really depends on if there were teams that would have wanted that extra year to make it 8 years. But even if they knew he wasn't going to stick around, and it sounds like what's said is it was kind of a last minute decision. Like there wasn't really anything finalized or decided upon until like kind of the very end. But you know, you think even if the Flames could have done a signing trade with him or something.
Yeah.
You know, they get him signed to that 8-year extension, then trade him somewhere. But the only issue again is very similar to it kind of just goes back by why the Islanders couldn't really do much with Tavares.
Right.
And moving him because of how good he was at the time. And then, you know, they thought he was going to stay. But then it's like, wherever that player wants to go, like Gaudreau ended up wanting to go to Columbus, he's not going to, you know, be like, yeah, I'll do a signing trade and go to Columbus. And then I go there, but they're losing so many assets back to get me type of thing.
Yeah, you don't want to go to a team and make them give up a ton of their future when your whole plan is to go be a part of their future.
Yeah, so you could easily just go there on your own and just sign with them to begin with.
Yeah.
So it's a tough position for the Flames. I don't really know how they're gonna handle it. I think they've got to be able to try to convince at least. I mean, it sounds like Hannafin's for sure done.
Right.
I think Toffoli's pretty much done. I think you could maybe get Lindholm and Backlund to stay.
I think
so. Even if you could get those two,
Lindholm would be huge
for the right price.
Yeah.
For the right price. Like, there's been reports of getting up there to the $9.5 million range, and that's
Lindholm's a really good player, but that's pretty steep.
9.5 is a steep amount, but I mean, if they feel like it's what they have to do. I
mean, it's starting to look like Calgary might just be one of those teams, one of those cities that you have to pay that premium to get people to stay. Like,
yeah.
There's a couple places like Calgary, like Winnipeg, that you just have to shell out a bit of extra cash to get people to stick around.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess that's something we'll keep an eye on over, kind of the next week and a half or so, going up to the draft and then even up to the start of free agency here.
Right. Do you want to talk about Patty Marleau getting signed with the Sharks?
Yeah, we could do that. I mean, not a whole lot to say. Like, as a Sharks fan, I'm obviously very happy that they were able to find a room for Marleau within the organization, some capacity beyond his playing career. Yeah, I mean, what was it? He was named head of player development, coaching.
He's the development coach.
Development coach. And I mean, I think that's a great. We even kind of talked about it when news was broken that he was going to be, coming back to San Jose and join them. We didn't know what he was going to be doing, and I was hoping that it would be something along the lines of their development coach, because you're a rebuilding team. You've got lots of young prospects coming up. You're adding a couple more in this year's draft, and he's played the most games all time in the NHL, all time leader in games played. So who better to show these kids how to be a professional and take care of themselves, be healthy, and yeah,
I
think it's a great signing.
It's also got to be rather assuring for some of these young guys as well that this guy's played 23, 24 years of professional hockey. He's played on how many teams? Not a lot, but he played on the Toronto Maple Leafs as well. Did he play in a couple other places as well?
Marleau?
Yeah.
I know people are going to say Carolina, but no. Pittsburgh as well. He went to Pittsburgh for it was 16 games or something.
Yeah. But he the Penguins, the Leafs, those are some pretty prestigious franchises in the NHL.
Yep.
And he went back to San Jose. That's got to be some sort of indictment of, they got a good organization going there. They got a good thing going on. That's got to mean a bit at least.
Well, and I think it's something. I think will come out once Joe Thornton officially retires, because he was kind of with the team a lot last year, and so I think they're going to find obviously a role for him within the organization once he retires. But yeah, you kind of brought up just a great point. There's even Thornton you can bring into this equation, but you see a lot of times Canadian players on American teams, kind of once they're done, they kind of want to go back home, kind of where they grew up, closer to family, and then they occasionally visit back to the team in the city that they played with for however long. When you're getting these Canadian guys, I'm assuming Thornton is still in San Jose, but especially Marleau now, for them to not want to, or not necessarily they don't want to, but they're not, just going back home and being closer to family and friends post playing career, they're wanting to stay in that city with the team. So I think you made a great point that's such a that's just got to be such a good feeling for those young players coming up. Having a guy like that who wants to be there and wants to help these kids reach the next level of their game.
Absolutely. All right. Do we want to move on to the draft?
Yeah, I mean, coming up, it's coming up within less than a week away.
All right. So
the big draft of this year.
Yeah. Jeez, it's a good looking draft.
Who goes first overall?
We got Bob McKenzie of TSN. We got his top 32 rank here. I don't know if we'll get through the entire first round, but
I'm probably maybe top 10.
Top 10.
You know, if there's any other kind of big spots or players you recognize that you want to discuss, we can. But yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to
go through the whole.
Do a full, round. Yeah.
But,
we just start from one, or like, what are we thinking? How do we want to do this? What's your vision for this?
Yeah, I think pretty much just read down the list, and do you agree with their placement? Do you think it should be somebody else? What do you get some reactions on?
Okay.
What he thinks, because Bob McKenzie's got a pretty good track record on these, and I mean,
yeah,
it also looks like just at a quick glance here, it looks like a list that a lot of people have been saying it'll be about this. Obviously, you can get some wild picks in there sometimes, but people don't usually deviate too many.
Yeah. All right.
So obviously, first overall, Connor Bedard.
Connor McBedard.
Connor McBedard.
Yeah.
You want to be good at hockey, just have Connor in your name. Kyle Connor in a couple years
or just have your last name start with an M.
Last name start with an M?
Yeah. Well, McDavid, McKinnon.
Okay. Yeah, it goes around. Number 2, Adam Fantilli.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one's kind of a given. Although I have seen reports over the last about the last week that apparently, I mean, we already kind of briefly touched on it about Montreal kind of looking to move up, but I've seen reports that Anaheim might maybe sounds like Carlson they're kind of kicking tires on, and then even someone said they might even take a swing at Michkov.
If he fits,
the problem with Michkov is no teams have been able to meet with him yet, and he wasn't at the combine or anything, and so teams aren't going to get to meet him until they're in Nashville for the draft.
But he does have a ton of teams lined up to talk to at the draft, right? Because
I wouldn't say a ton.
It sounds like a lot of teams are like he's booking as many teams as he possibly can.
Yeah.
To meet up and talk with, and you got to imagine, anyone in the top 10 of the draft probably is at least interviewing him.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember who it was, but I was reading it, and they were talking about a player who kind of talked their way into a spot where they would go in the draft. And so it's like, and there's people wonder, is Michkov, like, there's no doubt how good of a player he is, but it's almost like people are wondering if he's purposely kind of doing what he's doing right now to kind of get himself to a certain team.
Right. Do you think he's doing that? What team, if that is the case, what team do you think he'd be trying to get at?
I don't think there's necessarily one that, I think stands out more than the rest. I think probably the most interesting one would be Washington at 8.
That would make a lot of sense, I got to imagine Ovechkin is pretty high up on his favorite player list.
Well, and
if you were
exactly right, and then that would be just so typical for Washington. One, franchise Russian beast of a player, leaves an Ovechkin at one point, and then Michkov comes in and
And then Mishkov will be the captain by the time Ovechkin's kid is eligible to be drafted.
Just a cycle.
But
I think Fantilli goes too.
Yeah.
I don't think it should be any question for that.
That would be nuts if Carlson went second. Then you've got, when was the last time a guy the skill of Fantilli and Michkov were both available 3 and 4?
Yeah.
That would be absolutely bananas.
Well, and even Will Smith is in there, and he's really turning some heads, or at least did this year, and now continuing to up towards the draft. So, that top 5
it looks really good.
Is juice to the max for sure.
But yeah, so they Mackenzie does have Fantilli second and Carlson third.
Carlson third, yeah.
And then he has Will Smith fourth and Michkov in fifth. That's it makes sense.
It does.
But
it definitely
Michkov
does.
is a good player to go fifth. That's
and I don't. He won't go in the 5 spot.
You don't think so?
There's no shot Montreal takes him.
No.
I do think, honestly, what I believe is still kind of the most likely. Is I think Montreal is really just gonna throw out an offer that San Jose can't refuse, and then San Jose is gonna go back to the 5. Montreal moves up to 4, and they can get Will Smith, who they really want, and then I think the Sharks probably take Michkov because he just fits that timeline for the team perfectly.
He's got to fit the San Jose timeline better than most teams picking in that area. Other than, maybe Chicago, but I mean, I don't think it's in question what Chicago's doing unless they have other draft capital or something to move up into the top 5 again.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the top 5. So, okay, who's he got going 6?
Sixth, he has Ryan
Leonard, yeah. And the Coyotes are at 6. But I would really, really, really like to see Ryan Leonard on the Flyers.
Yeah?
I think he'd be a great fit for that team.
Oh, so is he, does he have that typical Broad Street bully kind of play style?
Yeah, it's not even really like he's a goon. He's just a workhorse, like a go hard, no fear. Like he's got a motor that just doesn't quit, and he just screams Philadelphia Flyer, like, and they're going through a tough position like right now. Obviously trade rumors pretty much about everybody, and their dog's uncle on the team.
Absolutely. Even the coach.
But yeah, like Cutter Gauthier is the only one who's untouchable, and I think you bring Ryan Leonard and have that kind of be your, one. But I don't think either are really centers, are they?
It does have Ryan Leonard listed as a center. Okay.
So if he can play down the middle, then that's huge. I think that's a great fit for the Flyers.
Right. Where are the Flyers picking?
7.
So
who does Bob McKenzie have on 7th that maybe the Coyotes take instead?
They have, hopefully I'll pronounce this right, Dalibor Dvorsky. Out of Hockey Allsvenskan. Probably pronounce that one even worse.
Yeah, it's tough because like, what do the Coyotes do? Because like, who's the first defenseman he's got? Like, don't even tell me who it is. Just where on the, like, what number?
Number 8.
Really? Okay.
He's got a defenseman.
So
next one after that is 14.
Yeah, and so it's like the Coyotes. I almost wonder if the Coyotes trade back.
Right.
Because, like, if you're sitting at 6 overall, you're gonna probably get maybe a Michkov there, maybe a Ryan Leonard. And the Coyotes don't really need another forward to add to their group. They've already got Keller. Baird Hayden's really fucking improving.
He's gotten better.
Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther. I feel like I'm missing someone. I probably am, but
they got some good.
They got nothing on defense. And they just gave away Chikrin. So, they've got the 6th pick and the 12th. I almost wonder if they kind of move back from 6 maybe to 10, 11, maybe even 13 or 14. And,
try and pick up
some extra assets, and then you're still going to get a defenseman there. Right. Instead of reaching necessarily kind of at 6, when you could probably get quite a package back for that pick.
Yeah, getting the 6th or 7th best forward in a draft, or get the best defenseman in the draft. That might be a huge steal looking back on it.
Not only the best defense in the draft, but you're adding some extra assets as well. Yeah. And moving back to get them. So who do they have at 8 then? Is it Reinbacher?
Yeah, David Reinbacher.
And he's a good fit for the Coyotes. He's again, it's one of those things like it's tough to explain because it sounds so stupid, but I can envision Ryan Leonard in a Flyers jersey and Reinbacher in a Coyotes jersey more than I could imagine Bedard in a Blackhawks jersey. And we already know that one's going to happen.
Yeah. He's already their most important person in that franchise.
Yeah.
Other than the owner.
It's just like those players, they fit the mold of that team and fit what that team needs so well. If the Coyotes stay at 6, I see them taking Reinbacher there. I think they just need to grab a defenseman. And to get the best one in the draft is huge for them.
Yeah. Do you think whoever gets drafted will even get to play in a Arizona Coyotes jersey, or do you think they're going to be playing in?
No, they will.
Houston, in Salt Lake City. No, none of that.
No, and the problem is, so what would you say would be kind of the 2 biggest markets for future NHL teams then? Because you kind of ripped off.
Yeah, it's Houston is the big free space. Houston's got to be one of them. I think Salt Lake City has a pretty good chance.
Yeah. And so the thing is those are hot spots that are already making it well known that they're going to be an attractive NHL market.
Yeah.
The NHL does not want to give those teams leftovers. If they're going to get their own team, they want it to be an expansion team. Like a brand new, this is your team. We're not just giving you this from,
that's fair.
What we couldn't make work in Arizona, maybe it can work here. And I just, even after their new arena plan got voted down, the NHL still seems very confident that they're not going to be moved. So I think the Coyotes will stick around. I think they just need to convince all these good young players, just trust the process. Come play one shitty year at Mullet Arena, but if we have a good team and do well and overflow that stadium, they'll be just fine, I think. Yeah, but they have to try and be competitive.
That's the biggest thing.
They can't keep trading for all these guys who are never going to play again.
Yeah. They've been a non-factor in the league for 20 years.
More like 10. They went on a pretty great run in 2012 in the playoffs.
Did they have a great team? Did they seem like a real threat? I'm not going to pretend
they went to the Western Finals.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it was either them or the LA Kings. So that literally we could have had a who'd they have first? LA, the Devils first time they won the cup. Yes, we could have had a New Jersey Devils Arizona Coyotes final almost.
Yeah, that would have been.
That's as wild as this year having Vegas and Florida.
A lot of people seem surprised that Florida was here, but they won the President's Trophy just last year.
Yeah, exactly.
They're a good squad.
All right, who do they got ranked 8? 8 was
Reinbacher.
Yeah.
9 they got Zach Benson.
So he's Winnipeg Ice, isn't he?
I can check that right here. Yes, he is.
So they're relocating again. I read the other day.
The Winnipeg Ice.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I can't remember where, but I think it's somewhere down in. It's down in the States, and I'm like, Man, that fucking sucks. Like, I remember going to Kootenay Ice games, and then they went to Winnipeg, and I was like, that's still good, and that they're staying up in Canada and kind of keeping it along with their theme, and now they're moving off again, so that's tough.
Yeah. Yep. The Winnipeg Ice announced today that the Ice franchise has been sold and relocated to Wenatchee, Washington.
Yeah.
Wenatchee, never even heard of it.
It's fucking stupid, is what it is.
Probably not a lot of Americans heard of Winnipeg, but
So Zach Benson, I mean, Detroit's number 9. Do you like that fit? I don't know what Detroit fully needs. I wouldn't be surprised if Detroit trades their pick for a win now player. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they trade the 9th overall, like, straight up for Alex DeBrincat. Or maybe, like, that 9th overall in, I don't know, a bag of chips and a puck or something, and you get DeBrincat on an 8-year deal.
Yeah.
I could see that being something that Detroit does.
I really think that they need to find that number 1 center. I think
well, they got Larkin.
I think Larkin's one of those guys that is a...
You don't think Larkin has that dog in him?
Oh, he's got that dog in him. I don't think he has that high-end skill that you need to be a cup-winning team. I think he's one of those guys that's like Tavares. No, Tavares isn't a great example, just his position is, but he would be an incredible second-line center. But I don't know. It's really hard to win if he's the best center you have on your team.
But who has he really had to play with?
He hasn't had a ton. He absolutely hasn't had a ton. But I still don't know if,
Which is what blows my mind is how shit Detroit has been for the last bit.
It's
like they went on a tear for years and years, and then what is it now? Year 5 or 5 of the guys are playing there?
And they've been there for a bit, and I've seen a lot of people just saying trust the Yzer plan. It's going to work over the past 5 years. People are starting to ask questions. People are starting to wonder, hey, when are we going to start seeing real sustained success?
Well, it's you almost start to wonder, is Yzerman like, and obviously it's like, no, regardless of the team's success or failures, does he ever even get fired?
Yeah,
like, can they really just be like, hey, we're gonna fire, Stevie Y here? But he's been there for a bit, and they gotta be starting to get that urge to be like, fuck, we gotta win now. Like, we gotta start at least trying to push for the playoffs.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what their biggest issue was this past year, and that's goaltending.
Goaltending, yeah.
I'm looking at their stats right now. Can you guess what goalie on their team had the highest save percentage and what it was?
Ville Husso.
Ville Husso had the highest.
896.
It's an 896.
Is it actually?
Yep.
Holy shit.
Exactly correct.
Wow.
1 point lower, Nedeljkovic had an 895. And I'm not sure how many games. In 17 games, Hellberg had an 885. They had 3 goalies play 15 games or more, and none of them had over an 896. Like, that's...
So now, you say that, I'm almost starting to wonder, like... And this is a thought I'm literally just having now, because I start to think, okay, so Nashville, with that Ryan Johansson trade, I almost wonder maybe if you're Detroit, do you try packaging, say, the 9th overall pick and maybe like a Philip Zadina to Nashville for UC Saros? Zadina's still got value because of his potential and his draft position, and he really hasn't made it work with Detroit, but maybe, Nashville take a chance. And then the 9th overall pick.
Yeah, and so, because who's the GM over in Nashville? That's Barry Trotz, right?
Big Barry.
It is Barry Trotz.
Big Barry.
He loves to make moves. I mean, right before we started the show, he traded Ryan Johansson for the rights to Galchenyuk. Like,
and
he loves to just swing for it and make moves.
Well, and
he doesn't mess.
and for anybody wondering why would Nashville trade UC Saros? Like, he's a phenomenal goalie. Because you can get so much back for him right now. You're clearly kind of going through a retool / rebuild, because Barry Trotz is going to build the team his way. Same as how when he went to the Islanders, he was being like, I want this guy and this guy. Like, he wants his role players that play certain roles. And they also still have Askarov.
That's the biggest reason it works, because Askarov looks like he's going to be an absolute stud in the league.
So, if you're Detroit, like...
Saros' trade value has never been higher.
And I don't think... I think, if anything, it's going to just... Because Nashville's going to be a worse team now.
Yeah.
And so, Saros' trade value is going to drop. So I wonder if you almost cash him while it's an all-time high.
I mean, you
and if I'm Detroit...
really like that coming up, I think you got to.
And if I'm Detroit, I would probably trade for Saros. And then... it sounds like DeBrincat really wants to go to Detroit. So if you just say, hey, fuck it, maybe tough it out one more year in Ottawa, then you can come here then. You can just walk your way right here and be a part of the team, rather than, trading all this stuff for him. So.
Yeah, or play there most of the year, and then maybe the Sens come crawling back at the deadline and say, fuck, fine, we'll take a second round pick for him or something. Yeah. Because it's not like they're going to need him in the postseason.
Yeah. So a lot of interesting options for Detroit there.
Those are both very realistic options. I could definitely see. That Saros one is really interesting with Askarov coming up. It's just one of the situations where you got to go with the young guy who looks like he's going to be incredible. And they definitely probably don't want to trade Saros yet, but I think if you want to maximize your value, you probably do it now. And with Trotz just coming in, that's probably what he's going to do.
Yeah, I feel like they shouldn't be actively trying to trade him, but I feel like if you get an offer that's just so good, I don't think you can be like, nah, we don't.
Yeah. They're not in a position to say he's untouchable.
Yeah.
For sure. And rounding out the top 10, we got Gabe Perreault.
Really? No Matthew Wood or Barlow?
Wood is 11 and Barlow is 12.
Oh, okay. I was like, wow, okay. And so number 10 is the St. Louis Blues. I don't know what St. Louis is going to do. I think they're kind of in a weird spot. Now they've spot. I think they're kind of, I want to say rebuilding at this point now.
It feels like it, but they have for a rebuilding team, they have a weird amount of talent. They have more than a handful of players that at least have decent value.
Yeah. Yeah, but then they've got some draft picks this year due to trading away Tarasenko, which I don't think they got a whole lot for Tarasenko really. They got a good haul for O'Reilly though.
Yeah.
So they're kind of a weird one. I kind of like. I don't even know what they would do. I don't know what direction this draft really kind of decides for them. Are they going to trying to?
They could turn it around and be retool or next year, or they could
just blow it up
and blow it up
full rebuild.
It's one of those teams where you just have to wait and see. We haven't heard much on it, and it's hard to tell looking at it.
So with the rankings there, who is the second defenseman? Was it Sandin?
Axel Sandin Pellikka.
Yeah. Okay, and then where did they have Braden Yeager?
He was one of the other guys I wanted to talk about at 15.
15. See, so I like that because right in there is Nashville at 15 and Calgary at 16, and I like him on both of those teams because obviously Calgary, their center core is going to be kind of open. There's going to be open spots to be filled over the next couple years, and then even Nashville now, they're kind of, I think they're trying to do that quick retool, and I think with a quick retool, Yeager can kind of slide in just as they're coming out of it and ready to start contending again. So that's a good spot for him, I think, to put him in there. I think even Pittsburgh at 14, I think he's a fine fit there.
Yeah, I think I don't think he's going to be necessarily one of the best players in this draft, but I definitely think Braden Yeager has potential to be one of the, even if he's drafted 15, 16, he could easily be one of the top 10 players in this draft to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of those guys, like, I don't think he's going to be like a, at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to have a top 5 career out of everybody.
He could be like a Dylan Larkin.
But I think he's is the type of guy that's going to have that longevity in his career. Like, he's going to have a long, good career.
Good, solid career.
Yeah, he just plays in such a smart way, and it's honestly a really fun way to watch. So I'm kind of, and I think having him on either Calgary or Nashville are both exciting options.
Yeah, players like that can be so dangerous when they play. They like have that natural hockey IQ, and they play really well. If they can put it together with their body, at the right time, all of a sudden they can absolutely go off.
Yeah. Is there any other players you wanted to kind of touch on? Like, there's so many, and
just looking for the first goalie to show up on his rankings here.
That's probably not till like the 3rd round. I don't think there's a goalie really projected to go high in this draft. I think what I heard was like 3rd or
a couple here, but it goes from the 1st round to other notable prospects.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not too sure where the first goalie would even fall. And usually with goalies, maybe the first one to get taken is going to be a bit of a reach, but that's just because you don't want to risk not getting him.
Yeah.
Because, it's so unpredictable to know where goalies are going to go in drafts. So
yeah, it's got a couple of them listed here, Gleb Artsatbanov, Trey Augustine, Patrick Burzins. Like, there's a couple of names in here, but I really don't know a ton about them.
Yeah.
This year doesn't have any goalies that are jumping off the page of people.
Yeah, there's no, like, Askarov or there's Jesper Wallstead, like, guys like that.
Wallstead was good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of just, kind of going through the top 10, talking about a couple of the teams in there, what moves they might make.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting things Detroit specifically.
Also,
those were all really good.
Looking at now, also notable with Detroit is they do have the 17th overall pick as well. That's the New York Islanders pick that went to Vancouver. It's part of the Bo Horvat trade, and then to Detroit for Philip Hronik. So Detroit's also got the 17th overall pick that they can play around with if need be. So
right,
a lot of interesting scenarios there for him.
Yeah, that's some interesting stuff they got going on. It'll be neat to see if Yzerman's got big plans for it, or if he's just doing things in the moment that look good.
Yeah, I think you got to take a swing at trying to bring in something of impact to the team. Kind of show that not only the team but just the fan base, like it's go time now.
Yeah.
Whatever your 5 or 6 of the guys are playing, it's time to really go for it and make something happen. So,
right.
But I guess we'll wait and see what happens there.
Yep. I guess we'll wrap this one up, and yeah.
Right on.
All right. Well, everyone out there listening, have a good day.